There are a lot of things wrong with retail World of Warcraft. We all know that. So many people talked about that, but somehow no one really talks about the playable races, which is kinda wild to me, because not only do they have problems, some of them are the problem. Back in vanilla, the Alliance had humans, dwarves, night elves and gnomes. A little bland maybe, but at least it felt consistent. You knew what they were going for. The classic fantasy faction, the noble, moral, sorta boring guys. Meanwhile, the Horde was different. Orcs, trolls, tauren and the undead. Still humanoid, but weird enough to stand out. You could instantly tell they weren't the default faction. It wasn't perfect though, especially on the Alliance side. For a world that's supposed to be bursting with fantasy, they felt a bit too safe. That's actually why my first character ever was a member of the mighty Horde as an undead priest. In TBC, the Alliance got the Draenei, which honestly was a great move. They were weirder, more mystical and properly fantasy, but still fit naturally into the Alliance vibe. It added flavor without breaking anything. A good move if you ask me. The Horde on the other hand got the Blood Elves, and that wasn't great. The Horde's whole identity was this brutal, feral, survivalist faction forged by harsh conditions and the will to endure, and then suddenly they get the most high society, elegant group imaginable. It felt forced, because it was forced. Clearly added so the Horde could have their own pretty race and make both factions feel more homogenized. Next up were the Goblins and the Worgen. Honestly, the best pair of races ever added to the game. Both fit their factions perfectly. And yeah, just like how the Blood Elves were meant to give the Horde a pretty race, the Worgen were clearly meant to give the Alliance their own feral one. But this time, it actually worked, because the Worgen were humans at their core and they were part of the lore like that for a very long time already, and if anyone was going to learn how to control that curse and rejoin civilization, it would obviously be joining the Alliance. The Goblins are my second favorite race after Undead. They are just so damn fun and full of personality, and it made total sense for them to side with the Horde. Even back in vanilla, they were either neutral or Horde leaning. Their whole worldview, chaotic, scrappy, profit driven, fits the Horde vibe really well, a lot better than it would fit the Alliance. And the story behind how they joined also made total sense for both the Goblins and the Worgen. Then came the Pandaren, the first race that could join both factions. And while I believe Mist of Pandaria is underrated, this wasn't part of the reason why. By that point, Blizzard was way more focused on class balance than class flavor. Every class could do everything. Self-heal, area of effect, CC, mobility, all of it. So racial abilities couldn't be too impactful either. So that's when they started getting boring. Naturally, that's also where the RPG charm of it started fading away. The Pandaren's biggest issue is simple. I just don't buy that they'd ever pick a side. Both factions, the Horde and the Alliance, messed with them badly and caused major problems. And philosophically, the Pandaren are all about peace, balance, and not getting involved with the outside world. That is the whole thing for them, not getting involved. They literally hid from the world for thousands of years. But now suddenly, they're like, yeah, sure, I will join the Horde and be part of countless conflicts for my entire life. Come on. And having a race split between factions just made both sides feel less distinct as well. But hey, a new playable race means more people log in to try and see what's up. So Blizzard did what Blizzard does. The playable race system was already having some problems by this point, but when Battle for Azeroth came out with the allied races, it went full shit show. Alliance got Void Elves, Lightforged Draenei, Dark Iron Dwarves, Cool Tyrants, and Mecha Gnomes. Horde got Nightborn, High Mountain Tauren, Zandalari Trolls, Maghar Orcs, and the Vulpera. And in later expansions, both factions got the Earthen and Draktyr as well. That's when it all just started spiraling into a massive, messy pile of homogenized nonsense. The first problem is obvious, and it's only getting worse. We've got the Haranir coming in the next expansion, another race available for both factions, same issue all over again. The issue? Originality, or more like the total lack of it. The last 13 races added to the game, counting the Haranir, gave us 3 that are actually new. 3 out of 13. Void Elves are just a Blood Elf reskin. Lightforged Draenei, it's a Draenei reskin. Dark Iron Dwarves, just a dwarf with eyeliner. Mecha Gnome, a gnome in mech cosplay. Nightborn, Night Elf reskin. High Mountain Tauren, you guessed it, Tauren reskin. Zandalari trolls, literally just regular trolls that learned how to stand straight. The new orcs but slightly cleaner. Earthen, weird, ugly dwarves. And the Haranir, basically a human elf smoothie that looks like 5 existing races. Yeah, there are some tiny differences here and there, but once you throw a set of armor on them, good luck telling who's who. It's no wonder Blizzard pumped out so many races in the last 7 years, more than they did in the previous 14. They're all lazy, boring reskins. Quantity over quality, quantity over creativity, plain and simple. Up until BFA, even with all the issues the game already had, you could still tell what race someone was just by their silhouette. Even fully armored, every race had its own shape, posture and vibe. You'd see a shadow in the distance and instantly know that's a Tauren, that's an undead, that's a night elf, that's a worgen. And even among the few races that do stand out, we've got Kultirans, Vulpera and Draktyr. The Kultirans are actually pretty cool, but the male model looks weird. Like not big or fat, but round. They've got this perfectly spherical stomach that makes them look pregnant, and so many of their transmog options make their belly pop out for some reason. It just looks weird and bad, like they don't know how to dress. Then there's the Draktyr. They could have looked amazing if they were built more like this, exactly what tons of players asked for when they were first announced, but of course we had to get the soy boy version because this was Dragonflight, and of course they're playable by both factions, which just makes Horde and Alliance feel even more identical, something the game's already been struggling with. I'll give them credit though, the racials of the Draktyr are actually really cool. And then we've got the Vulpera. Oh my fucking god. Where do I even start? They are basically the perfect case study for everything wrong with the playable races in the modern world of Warcraft. So we're gonna focus on them for the rest of the video because they are the perfect example for all that is wrong. But keep in mind, most of these things apply to the other races too. Let's start from the beginning. To unlock any of these uninspired allied races, you first have to do their intro questlines. The little stories that show how and why they joined their faction. And the Vulpera, the Disney looking cocomelon critters, obviously end up joining the Horde. Their introduction quest genuinely feels like something I would write if Blizzard paid me a stupid amount of money to intentionally make it bad. A random furry desert creature you never met before strolls into Ogrimmar, asks the Horde leader to let them join and gets turned down, understandably because you're basically a talking squirrel no one's ever heard of. Then out of nowhere, this talking squirrel turns to you, in my case an undead shadow priest, and goes, "Hey, would you help me get into the Horde?" Why me? I don't know you, you don't know me, and I am literally an undead shadow priest. But sure, let's go on a political mission together, a mission that is very important for you and your people's survival. Their reasoning to get into the Horde is my people are struggling and need help, and for some reason, the Horde is the better pick between the Horde and the Alliance. Okay, but maybe don't ask the dead corpse wielding the power of the void for help, ask someone else. And from the player's side, why the hell would I even want to help them? They don't explain why they are here, where they came from, what they stand for, nothing. They could be good, they could be bad, a good addition to the Horde or a liability. I have no idea, and I have no way to know. And when Bane finally refuses them into the Horde, the reason actually makes sense. The Horde is stretched thin, low on resources, and already dealing with too many problems. You literally see him talking to 3 other races asking for aid, and it's clear that the Horde can barely hold itself together. Is the one grounded part of that entire questline, surrounded by one of the most half-assed introductions Blizzard has ever written. Anyway, with all that garbage writing out of the way, let's move on. The quests themselves, an absolute snooze fest, the most bland, predictable filler you could ever imagine. The Vulpera leader has a brilliant plan to earn the Horde's trust, and that is to help out with the 3 problems Bane just heard about 5 seconds earlier. How convenient that they all happened at the exact time this quarrel came in. So naturally, you end up doing all the work for them. First stop, a peon riot in the Highlands. You show up, a Vulpera NPC tells you what to do, you do it for them, and that's that. Amazing stuff. Then there's a quest in Suramar where a group of geniuses are trying to make wine. A Tauren is taking notes, and a small goblin is stomping the grapes. You, the savior of Azeroth, have to show up and suggest that maybe this mind-blowing idea can help. Just maybe the big guy should stomp the grapes and the small guy should write. Incredible showcase of logic and leadership. After that, you kill some Naga because the talking squirrel told you to do it. Then you return to Ogrimmar and Bane suddenly loses his mind over these problems that somehow got resolved, and he's like, what the fuck? The torrent crushing the fruit worked better? Unbelievable! The horde is saved! Vulpera, welcome. I am so sorry I haven't accepted you at first. May I suck your humongous cock? And that's it. That's the big moment. Congratulations, you've unlocked the cringe furry race. So not only is everyone in this questline either extremely brain dead or couldn't care less, since all the tasks are mindless filler, but on top of that, some quests are scaled to your level, others are stuck in BFA. And you do all the work while the Vulpera get all the credit and the horde invite, for nothing. And after all of that, I still learned absolutely nothing about them. I have no idea who these things are, where they came from, or what their deal is. Going in, I didn't expect to be blown away. Blizzard's writing hasn't been good for a while, but I did expect at least a hint of personality, some kind of introduction to what makes this new race special. Instead, nothing, zero. I mean, there was nothing about this race at all. I think maybe their starting zone and their starting quest will explain it better, who the Vulpera are. I'll make a new Vulpera and see for myself. Their intro is literally 3 instant finish quests that just send you straight to Chromie in Ogrimmar to pick an expansion and start leveling there. That's it. No lore, no setup, no sense of identity. Just straight to leveling. The amount of effort put into this race, beyond make the furries horny enough to try the game, is zero. It's painfully obvious Blizzard didn't give the slightest shit about these new races adding anything meaningful to the RPG. They exist for 3 reasons: to make the factions look more symmetrical, to get people to log in and make new alts so it boosts playtime, and, let's be real, to bait the furry gooners. Every new expansion just adds more playable races, but less reason to care about any of them. Their backstories are paper thin, their models are recycled, even the Vulpera, that looks a bit different, is literally just a goblin with long ears and big eyes. They use most of their base model and their animations, and tonally they break everything that used to make Warcraft feel like Warcraft. Try to imagine a Vulpera in anything released before 2009. You cannot. Picture them in the Wrathgate cinematic. It's impossible. The whole tone of the universe would collapse. Yet here we are. Vulpera in the Horde, Nightborn in the Horde, Dwarves in the Horde for some fucking reason. The original identity of the Horde, that gritty primal underdog faction that survived through unity and hardship, is completely gone. And honestly, it's not like most of these new races make sense for the Alliance either. It's just worse that this crap ended up in the Horde. And the sad reality is that this is exactly the kind of content that's been killing the game and will keep killing the game forever, because the modern player base loves this crap. Fast, soulless, mass-produced content that completely erases Warcraft's identity, made by people who clearly don't understand or even like what Warcraft is at its core, for people who clearly don't understand or even like what Warcraft is at its core. And it's not just about the new races. The racial abilities are all bland as hell now too, watered down to the point where they don't matter unless you're in the top 0.1% of players. We need perfect spreadsheet equality instead of an RPG where your race actually feels like it matters. Then there's the sheer amount of races itself. Adding so many so often, it makes it literally impossible for Blizzard to keep them all relevant. The Undead haven't done anything meaningful since Shadowlands. Cult Tyrants nothing since BFA. And that's the case for most of them. There is no way to keep all of these factions and races active when we are nearing 30 of them. Most are doomed to be forgotten, and Blizzard keeps pumping out more that will be forgotten as well after a few years. Because retail players keep eating it up, no matter how uninspired or tone-breaking it is. And the final issue, the one I hinted at in the thumbnail, is that it's starting to look ridiculous at this point. This isn't Warcraft anymore, it's a damn zoo. You walk through Ogrimmar and it's like a crossover between Fortnite, Zootopia and Skyrim. And it's only going to get worse because Blizzard's already used every human and elf permutation imaginable, so now they're doubling down on furries and lizards. Not because it makes sense, but because that's what modern audiences apparently get off to. It's a carnival, not a world, it's all spectacle with no soul. And with factions being basically meaningless now, everything cross-faction, everyone holding hands, the whole thing just collapses. The world doesn't feel like Warcraft anymore, it's a theme park chaos with no soul left in it. Anyway guys, this was the video. Please make sure to hit the sub button if you liked it and leave a comment and a like too. A huge thanks to you if you watched all the way through. You are a Chad. Till next time, see ya.